Shalom, shalom, family. We are at it again.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory to the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Holy One of Israel, who is Jesus. I am Cassius Israel, a.k.a. Kazak ben Yehuda. I represent the walls of Jericho, biblical and historical studies, Hebrew brews in the hood, entertainment, and we are in the building. I got my co-host on here with me. Y'all go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Yo, I'm going out to all my brethren and sisters out there. Shalom, man. It's your boy Jay Israel, a.k.a. Wise Soul. Hey, Walls of Jericho in the building. All praise to the Most High, man. It's a glory to be here, man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All praise to the Most High. You already know it's your boy Big Homie Yerp. Giving it all we got. You know what I'm saying? Iron sharpen iron tonight. We're going in effective communication, y'all. Effective communication going off the topic last week, fruits of the spirit.
Hello, everybody. My name is Masha Vu, singer, songwriter, and much more than that. Happy to be here. All praises.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good to have everybody here. Once again, this is Iron Sharpen Iron. As my brother, beloved brother said, we are doing sort of a part 2 of what we did last week, but we're adding the effective communication today, man.
Ooh.
Effective communication. Now, watch this. Now, as we get into this breakdown, some of this stuff may seem like it's common sense, but when we go through this, it'll be some stuff that you have to improve on. Maybe there's some stuff that you're good at. You know what I'm saying? We all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses, right, but we got to make sure that we're improving on everything, everything.
Yep.
As we go through this, once again, this is real, y'all. This is not something, we're not around here holier than thou, think we got it all together. We messed up out here. You know what I'm saying? We messed up, and we need God's instructions in order to do better in our own lives, right?
Yes, sir.
I do.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a recap, sort of like a recap of what we did last week. And that is, once again, last week we did love manifested through the fruits of the spirit, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to go through some of the scriptures that we went through last week. So we're going to start this at Colossians, the third chapter. Colossians, the 3rd chapter. Once again, we are doing this on effective communication, right? Do you have it or don't you, right? This is the place to know if you got either one or the other, right?
And the place to build off of it, too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Serve as reminders, too. Maybe you knew it before. You forgot about it.
Right. You can always get a reminder, right? We always need that.
Yes.
All right. Colossians, the 3rd chapter. Colossians, the 3rd chapter. And we are going to start at verse 8. Colossians, the 3rd chapter. And we are going to start at verse 8. Whenever you get there, my brother, you can go ahead and read.
Reading. But now ye also put off all these anger.
Right. So now you also put off all these. What is the all these? Go ahead.
Anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth.
Right. So if you notice, it starts with the anger, the wrath, the malice. In order for you to have effective and not filthy communication, you got to get rid of all these first and foremost. What else do you have to get rid of? Go ahead.
Lie not one to another.
You got to stop lying.
Yeah.
You got to stop lying, right? Go ahead.
See that ye have put off the old man with his deeds.
Right. So that's supposed to be the old you. It's not supposed to be the person that you are today or moving forward, right? Go ahead.
And have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him.
Right. So what type of wisdom are you supposed to put on with this new man? Talking about the wisdom of Christ, right? That is what you're supposed to put on. Skip down to verse 12 and go ahead.
Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved.
Go ahead.
Bowels of mercy.
So if you want to have effective communication, you got to have bowels of mercy, right? What else?
Kindness.
You got to have kindness, right? But you want to remember that you can't let your tongue get out of control. That's the one thing you can't do, right? Go ahead.
Humbleness of mind.
And you got to come humbly, right? So what we want to understand is if you're not coming humbly, if you're not having bowels of mercy, right? If you're not being kind, then you're really not going to have good communication, brothers and sisters, right? Verse 13, go ahead.
Meekness, long suffering, forbearing one another, and forgiving one another.
Right. So you gotta be meek. You gotta be forbearing one another. You gotta be forgiving one another. If you come to each other with that mindset, your communication will get easier, brothers and sisters. Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If any man have a quarrel against thee, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye.
Right. So if you got a quarrel with anybody, all of these things that is mentioned before, you have to come to that person with, right? Because maybe that person can be won back over. You never know, right? Big thing we're finna see. Verse 14. Go ahead.
And above all these things, put on charity.
You notice it said above everything that it just named. Above all of that, you got to have charity, right? Go ahead.
Which is the bond of perfectness.
Right.
Perfectness.
So, skip down to verse 18 and go ahead. So now we're going to deal with the different relationships, right? That we're going to go over with this. Go ahead.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as it is fit in the Lord.
Now, if you actually have good communication, that will show in your marriage, right? Having good communication, right? We're going to also go back to having the soft answer, right? That is the thing we got to practice first and foremost, because that is hard, especially when somebody's being hostile.
Right.
That is very hard, right? Keep going, my brother.
Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them.
Right. So just like on the flip side, wives, if you're going to be submissive to your own husbands got to love their own wives, right?
You better.
You can't expect your wife to be submissive to you and you're not loving her. And you can't expect your husband to love you as effective if you want him to, and you're not submitting to him, right?
100.
Verse 20, go ahead.
Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord.
And once again, once we go through this, we'll see that all of this is based on communication, soft answer, having bowels of mercy, humbleness of mind, kindness, long suffering. All of these things are going back to the fruits of the Spirit, right? Go ahead.
21. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged.
Right. So if the children have to be a certain way to the parents got to be a certain way to the children, right? Go ahead.
Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh.
Go ahead.
Not with eye service, as men pleasers,
Go ahead.
but in singleness of heart, fearing God.
Right. And so I got to always clear this up. This is not talking about chattel slavery, right? The servants here are the employees. The masters are the employers. We're going to go through that as well. How to have effective communication in the workplace.
Absolutely.
Right. Keep going, my brother. Verse 23.
And whatsoever ye do it heartily, as the Lord, and not unto men.
Go ahead.
Knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance.
All right, so you shall receive the reward of inheritance. That's why you're doing this, right? You want to receive the inheritance of God, which is eternal life, right?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
For ye serve the Lord Christ.
All right, let's go to Galatians, the 5th chapter. Galatians, the 5th chapter. Galatians, the 5th chapter. And we are going to start at verse 22. Galatians 5 and verse 22. Once again, we're just doing a recap of what we did last week. Galatians 5 and verse 22. Whenever you get there, my brother, you can go ahead and read.
But the fruit of the Spirit is love.
Go ahead.
Joy, peace, long suffering.
Go ahead.
Gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law.
Right. Notice it says against such there is no law, meaning that you will not be punished by the law if you have this spirit. It's impossible, right? So all of these things that we're mentioning over and over and over again, meekness, long suffering, gentleness, love, joy, peace. If you come to a person like that, you will have effective communication, right?
Sounds like a bunch of soft answers going on
right
here.
Bunch of soft answers, right? So how can you do this and curse somebody out?
You know,
it's just you can't do that, right? So we want to be better than the old man that we used to be, right? Go ahead. Verse 24.
Yep. And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts.
Go ahead.
If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit.
Once again, that Spirit is the fruits of the Spirit. So if we live in the spirit, we have to also walk in that same spirit, right? Verse 26.
Let us not be desirous of vainglory,
Go ahead.
provoking one another, envying one another.
And the vainglory is big when it comes to poor communication, right? You want to be heard, right? It's about you, right?
Making your presence felt.
Right, making your presence. Your point is the only point that matters, right? And that is not how we do things, right? All right, let's keep going. Let's go to Proverbs 15. Proverbs, the 15th chapter. And we're going to start at verse 1. Proverbs, the 15th chapter. And we're going to start at verse 1. Proverbs 15 and verse 1. Whenever you get there, my brother, you can go ahead and read.
A soft answer turneth away wrath.
Go ahead.
But grievous words stir up anger.
Right, so a soft answer, and you'll start noticing. You just come to somebody, let's just say y'all having a heated argument. The first person that gives a soft answer and then it's consistent, like, I'm going to give a soft answer. We already in a heated argument, so I can't expect you to come right back with a soft answer.
Right.
But if I'm consistent with the soft answer, eventually the conversation will start calming down.
You
But
can
somebody,
break a person with soft words.
right, you can break a person's bones with a soft answer, right?
That's right.
But then grievous words stir up anger. And hey, we've all had relationships, different type of relationships, friendships, whatever. You know, when you giving grievous words to somebody, it stirs up anger. They get angry. Now, that next thing you know, y'all fighting, insulting each other, cursing each other out, doing all these type of things,
What
right?
spirit is that?
Right. That is not the spirit of God. Definitely right. Verse 2, go ahead.
The tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright.
Right. So when you're communicating, knowledge is supposed to be used aright, right? Go ahead.
But the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness.
All right, skip down to verse 4 and go ahead.
A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness there is a breach in the spirit.
Remember that spirit is the fruits of the spirit. So if I'm being perverse, that means I'm turning away from the fruits of the spirit, right? And then if I'm a fool, I ain't gonna pour out nothing but foolishness out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not effective communication, right? Verse 7, go ahead.
Skip down to 7.
Skip down to verse 7 and go ahead.
The lips of the wise disperse knowledge.
It said it again, right? So we want to keep understanding that this is consistent, right? You have to consistently do this to have effective communication. Go ahead.
But the heart of the foolish doeth not so.
So the heart of the fools don't have no wisdom. They don't have no knowledge or understanding, right? So it ain't going to be nothing but foolishness coming out of their mouth, right? Skip down to verse 13 and go ahead.
A merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance.
Right. So if I'm feeling good, I have all this in my spirit, then when I come to you, my facial expression is going to show it. That's a part of communication as well, right?
Body language.
Non-verbal communication is big, right? Go ahead.
But by sorrow of the heart, the spirit is broken.
Right. So if I'm coming, so maybe you might not want to have this conversation with this person right now if you're feeling like that. Let's just go ahead and wait. But see, people think they gotta do it right now. Oh, I gotta check him right now. I ain't no punk. I gotta check him right now.
You can immediately feel that spirit on somebody once you start interacting and talking with them.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you can see it on them, like what they finna be on.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you know that, maybe it's not a time. That don't mean you scared. You know what I'm saying? Because what is the purpose of it? Am I supposed to just am I just coming to treat them?
Nah, y'all coming together to reason and come up with a solution to the argument.
It's really emotional because, like, you know what I'm saying, you hurt my feelings, so I gotta fix this. You broke my feelings, so I gotta address this. I gotta fix it. I gotta let him know, like, I'm offended.
Exactly.
Like, you offended me. I gotta cut your head
cut your head off because you offended me, right?
Exactly.
All right, so let's go to the matter of fact. No, I'm sorry.
We was on 13.
No, actually, that's right. All right, let's go to the last place. Let's go to the last place. Matthew 18.
All right.
Matthew 18. All right, so once again, this is just a recap. So when we get in here and we really spell this out and show you what it looks like, right? Then you're going to really understand, well, this stuff is biblical. Like this stuff, all of this stuff is from above, right? Ain't that what the word said?
Yeah.
All right, Matthew 18 and verse 15. Matthew 18 and verse 15. Whenever you get there, my brother, go ahead and read.
Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee,
Go ahead.
go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone.
All right, so now don't be out there just telling everybody. You done told everybody and they mama the issue, but the person that you got offended by, right? But the person that actually trespassed against you, right?
Mhm.
Go ahead, my brother.
If he shall hear thee,
Uh-huh.
thou hast gained thy brother.
So you at least got to take this step so they can hear you. You know what I'm saying? Some people, they'll get to the point where they just assume what the other person is going to say without having the actual conversation, right?
Or they might be afraid.
Or they might just be afraid. Some people don't take contention well, right? Or confrontation well. Well, you got to find out a way to communicate effectively, right? Because it might not be hostile like you think it's going to be, right?
And it could probably get resolved so smoothly.
So
Just being able to communicate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, my brother.
16. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more.
All right, so if it's that serious, man, our homies, whoever our homies are, whatever the case may be, or witnesses, right? Don't have to necessarily be homies, but the witnesses, bring them to that person. If it's that serious, there is a process to winning your brother over, right?
Absolutely.
Or your sister over, right? Go ahead.
That in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word may be established.
Right, so I'm going to stop right here because the other part is the church. So we don't really want to, we want to make this kind of universal, right? If it gets that serious, then go to the church, to go to the elders, and now y'all sit down and handle it, right?
Man, there's so many Jakes that's misunderstanding that alone, like with the doctrine thing, like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't finna put it out there because I don't want people to think I'm out here like bashing anybody, but y'all know what y'all do. Y'all know how y'all conversate on Facebook and how y'all come at each other, sisters, brothers, like just topics alone, like you having a conversation, a simple conversation. Now, you had offended somebody in the post, you can hit them up in the box, but now you want to go in the post and make it publicly known. Like, nah, that's terrible communication. That's
true. Matter of fact, you just made me think about it. We're going to go to one more place. Let's go to 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter. 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter. Because you are on the level that you are supposed to be, right? As far as what God expects of us as Israelite people, he wants you through your conversation to show his good works, right? So we're going to 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter. Hold on a moment. 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter. Oh, boy, in the wrong place. I'm sure, like, man, I'm saying scriptures out of order. 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter, and we're going to start at verse 9. 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter, and we're going to start at verse 9. Whenever you get there, my brother, you can go ahead and read.
But ye are a chosen generation.
Go ahead.
A royal priesthood.
Talking to you, Israel. So if you're a chosen generation, you're a royal priesthood, right? Now you gotta know how to communicate if you're a royal priesthood, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And holy nation, a peculiar people.
Go ahead.
Of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light.
Right. So that ye shall show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. You can't do that with bad communication, right?
No, you can't.
Go ahead.
Which in time past were not a people.
But that's the old man. See, you not like that. Your status is different because of your behavior, right? That don't necessarily mean you better than nobody, but your status, you are a better person than you were before. So your status is at a different level. You got to act different, right? Go ahead.
Right. But are now the people of God, which had not obtained mercy.
Go ahead.
But now have obtained mercy.
Go ahead.
Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims.
Go ahead.
Abstain from fleshly lust.
Right. So I just gotta say this, that, and the third. I just gotta get them back, right? I just gotta have my way, right? So it says, dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lust. Go ahead.
Which war against the soul.
Go ahead.
Having your conversation honest among the Gentiles.
Oh, the conversation. Having your conversation honest among the Gentiles. Go ahead.
That whereas they speak against you as evildoers.
Remember, somebody can be speaking evil against you. But
a witness looking on the outside.
But a conversation still has to go a certain way for a godly individual.
So hold on, Cash. So you mean to tell me if you this holy nation, you this holy peculiar person, but yeah, you letting your communication be foul unto the Gentiles, wouldn't that be a stumbling block?
Yes, it would.
Mm.
So now you got to have good communication to not be a stumbling block, which is against the law.
Absolutely.
Right? Go ahead.
Middle of 12. Whoa.
Read 12.
End of 12.
You can read 12 over.
All right. Having your conversation honest among the Gentiles.
Go ahead.
That whereas they speak against you as evildoers,
Go ahead.
they may buy your good works, which they shall behold. Glorify God in the day of visitation.
All right. So now you got to have a good communication to glorify God in the flesh. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if your communication is bad, your conversation is bad. If it's not honest, then you got a problem, brothers and sisters. Right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to really get into the details of what does that look like? Because we can be talking about that and we can be reading it through the scriptures, but what does it actually look like in real life? So we're going to start off with the question. And before we actually get into it, we're going to go around and ask everybody's opinion. What is effective communication?
Well, I personally feel like effective communication is first that pronunciation, enunciating your words, clarity, being precise with what you say what you mean and mean what you say. And like, don't be trying to finagle your words or don't get upset, you know what I'm saying, because you don't understand how a person is not understanding your words, you know, articulate yourself. So communication is definitely, as I believe it is just, you know, getting to the point. And sometimes that ain't always communication because, you know, people get frustrated when you direct and get straight to the point. Right. So it's a lot to communication that plays a part in it. You know, I'm not a doctor. I didn't study communication, but we finna learn definitely about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe effective communication, one part of that is definitely tailoring your communication to who you're talking to. You know, people have different levels of understanding just as far as like a child versus an adult. Right. But also adults, you know, are different levels or different things they understand. You shouldn't be using all these big words trying to be impressive. If somebody's not going to understand it, you're not going to get your point across. So what's really the point? You know what I mean? So tailoring your conversation to who you're speaking to, even if it's a new person, once you hear them speak, you know, make sure they're understanding. Make sure you're trying to come to an understanding. Make sure they're understanding you and you're not talking over them or it's going over their head. You know, getting pretty much making sure the feedback, everything is showing that y'all are on one accord with the conversation. Pretty much making sure you're tailoring it to who you're talking to.
And she just did the whole breakdown. It's like 5 seconds. Go ahead.
Well, what I'm learning and what I'm trying to practice as far as building effective communication is setting the tone for the conversation and making sure I'm composed and I'm in my right mind, and then making sure the other party is comfortable and ready to reciprocate the information that I'm trying to, you know, bring out. So just making sure I'm aligned, making sure my spirit right. I ain't coming with no ulterior motives.
Your body language too.
Absolutely. And just setting the tone for the conversation before the conversation even happens.
All right, good.
And then body language, I mean, of course, is be eye contact. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna listen or believe nothing. Nobody say looking all over the place, trying to like you think it's too hard. You know what I'm saying? Like,
playing thumb wrestling,
like
trying to talk.
All right, so we're gonna read this. This is from the source. This is from masterclass.com. Articles how to improve your communication. So guess what? Walls Jericho, we believe in scholarship, even on down to love and communication.
To the bone.
Right, to the bone, right?
Listen, this is some stuff we never probably even heard before growing up. You know what I'm saying? Now we grown men trying to build these skills, you know what I'm saying, just to live effective lives according to God.
And let me just say something. Right, maybe for me, maybe somebody else didn't understand, but I know that I don't usually hear the word scholarship used as y'all using it. What do you mean by scholarship?
So scholarship is basically evidence-based faith. We do evidence-based faith, right? Just because we can't see something doesn't mean that it's not true, right? Doesn't mean it's not going to get results, right? So if I got to bring out an article and read the article in order for me to know what effective communication is, instead of me just learning it just vicariously, just going out
word of mouth,
or even if I'm just in the house and I'm Like I got my husband, you know, you got your husband, not me, but you got your husband or you got your wife, and y'all just in the house fighting because you don't know how to communicate.
Right.
Man, get on the internet, look up some sources,
Okay.
read some books, some articles,
Yes.
and apply it to your everyday living. So that's what we need.
Is scholarship like doing your due diligence to make sure you
Educate yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
showing
And
yourself
that's-
approved.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
what
ma'am.
scholars
Yes, ma'am.
do. And that's exactly what scholars do. They study. They got to know what they going to teach because, you know, professors are scholars. So, you know what I'm saying? Or lawyers, it could be law scholars. You know what I'm saying? It's based off your skill and what you study and what you present in your lifestyle. So,
Right, it's all a science, right?
Yeah.
Science. So people don't equate that because they look at love and things like, man, well, this is how you feel. Sometimes it requires reason and logic and things of that nature,
and the
right?
key word is knowing.
Knowing,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
So you can't.
Yeah.
Facts is what you know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
or at least what you can't disprove, right?
Exactly.
And so if I'm going to do something, somebody tells me to do something, and if I do it and it works and nobody can disprove it, why would I go and revert
That's
back
right.
to the other way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so what is effective communication, right? Go ahead.
What is effective communication? Being an effective communicator means being able to both actively listen and clearly express yourself to those around
Sounds familiar. Sounds like what my sister just said, right?
Mhm. Absolutely.
As we go through this, you're going to notice that it's a combination of everything. Remember, when we went to Colossians, the 3rd chapter, we talked about the servants and the masters, right? The employees and the employers. We're going to talk about coworkers, having good communication with your coworkers and your supervisors, managers, stuff like that. We talked about the wives and the husbands. We talk about the children and the parents, right? So we want to understand that this is for everybody, right?
Right.
And if y'all want the information we got, we're going to post it in the chat later.
All right, definitely. So he said, being an effective communicator means being able to both actively listen and clearly express yourself to those around you, right? First and foremost, that's the goal, right? Go ahead.
Unfortunately, no one skill. So not one skill or technique will make you a better communicator.
All right, so you're not going to go and learn something is one thing. It's going to be some other things you need because you're still going to be off in your communication. So there's a variable of things you have to learn, a variable skills you have to learn in order to be effective in your communication, right? Go ahead.
Effective communication requires a diverse skill set that covers both verbal and nonverbal communication cues.
All right, so here's the thing, right? People don't think about them nonverbal. See, we were going to get into that as well, right? You may be saying something right, but maybe you're not positioned right. Maybe you're not looking at them right. Maybe your facial expression ain't right. Maybe you sitting there looking at it like, I'm saying things clear as this day, but I'm sitting there doing this and I don't seem like I'm interested in who out the band, right? So that's something you can't do, right? Go ahead.
As well as close listening.
All right, so you got to actually really actively listen, right?
That's the key part
Being
about
present,
communication is listening. That's what it's stressing. You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, how you gonna be able to communicate back if you ain't paying attention to what the person said
You
to
just
you?
ready to say what you want to say, what
You
you
know
got
what
to
I'm
say.
saying?
Right, like the famous saying, you listen to respond and not to understand, right?
Exactly.
Just waiting, like, wait.
It's time for you to respond. You like, huh?
Facts.
Missing points.
What you say? My bad.
Missing
Right.
points, the whole
True.
conversation getting
Facts.
lost. Now we forgetting what you said already. You know, the conversation starts getting lost when you're not listening.
Right,
All of
absolutely.
that.
All right, so next, why is effective communication important, right? So I'm going to ask around, why do y'all think effective communication is important?
We start over there, man. Let me think.
Okay, well, I can say
Communication.
just
Don't matter.
for peace.
For peace, okay.
You
For
know what I'm
peace.
saying?
Definitely for peace, right? That's a big thing because I be sitting here thinking about like let's just say you're right about something, right? Are you going to keep driving driving the point, or are you just going to yield for peace? That's another thing. Sometimes you got to just apologize for the peace.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of people don't want to do that. It's that pride, that ego, right?
Yeah.
All right, who else got it?
It's important because you're trying to get something out of the conversation. So if you don't have a certain skill set or a certain mindset coming into the conversation, it's just gonna be a bunch of ill will, malice, and hard feelings towards the other person. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing gonna get resolved. So that's not effective.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, basically laying back on what that's why it's important, because you know what I'm saying, effective communication runs the world. I mean, it's our livelihood, like it's gonna determine if we gonna get in the kingdom. You feel? We just read it. Like how you communicate with your brothers and sisters gonna determine if you get in the kingdom, if you either under the law or you not under the law.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how important
You
it
all
is.
agree.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Can I say one more thing? And just pretty much just to get to the truth.
Yeah,
Period.
absolutely.
Like we want to get to the truth.
And be okay with whatever the truth is. That's the humbleness in mind, right?
Exactly.
So I'm sitting here, I don't want to take accountability. That's a big thing. I don't want to take accountability. So when the truth happens and I'm wrong, I don't want to just be like, you know what? My bad. You know what I'm saying? All right. So what is effective? Why is effective communication important? Go ahead.
All right. Effective communication is vital, both in and out of the workplace, because it allows you to clearly translate your intentions and feelings into easily understandable messages.
All right. So now, remember, easily understandable, right?
Easily entreated.
Right. Simplicity, right? The simplicity of Christ, right? I don't want to be thrown off because I got to think extra hard about what you're trying to communicate to me, right?
Right.
That doesn't make sense, right? Go ahead.
Effective communication makes you a more productive worker, and it cuts down on unintended consequences that arise as a result of miscommunication.
So we're getting into the workplace once again. What? Servants, you got to be obedient unto your masters.
Yeah.
And then masters, you can't be bad to your servants. You can't be treating them like they slaves. That is not what that's saying, right? If you're a good master or an employer, you got to still show the character of God, right? Which is the fruits of the spirit, right? Go ahead, my brother.
Developing an effective communication process helps you understand what others are saying and makes you a better collaborator as a team member.
Right, and that once again, that's just not that is just not for the workplace, right? You know what? One thing we don't get into, how your personal relationships are also business relationships. And this is what I get into. Like marriage is really a business relationship. It's
a business arrangement.
Business arrangement. So you gotta have skills in order for it to go successfully, right? Not feelings. You don't come in with feelings with a relationship. You got to come in with skills, being able to communicate.
But the average relationship these days is just coming into it with feelings. Baby, I love you. I want to marry you.
But I don't know how to communicate.
Right. I don't know what you like. I don't know who your family is. I don't know where you've been, where you want to go.
I don't know how to talk to you when you're angry and this, that, and third. So all of that plays a factor, right? So there's a lot of stuff through this thing, right? What are y'all looking at that seems interesting to y'all?
Let's see. That's as far as what though?
On here.
Oh, okay.
The whole page.
Yeah, like we're just gonna go through it.
It's making me a better person. So I want to talk to somebody.
All right. For instance, we got here like 4 skills that are necessary for effective communication, right?
Yep. And with these skills, you know what I'm saying, it gets better with repetition. That's what I'm figuring out too. You definitely gotta communicate and get it out and talk to people.
Right, definitely. You gotta talk to people to communicate, right?
So you can't be shy.
Yeah, so you can understand all this stuff. You know what I mean? You can read it all and get it all in your head, but then if you don't barely talk to people, you still won't know what to do.
Right. So you can know something. Remember, it's a process to the whole level of gaining knowledge, right? Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I got to know what to do, how to do it, and then why I'm doing it. Right.
When to do it.
And when to do it is, man, that's a big thing, right?
You don't want to just be reading this stuff off people like, well, talking all technical to people just because you read something because you don't really know how to effectively communicate.
Right,
really.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
All right, so here it says developing better communication habits requires several important skills that work in tandem with each other, right? Some of these skills involve the way you speak or hold your body, right? Once again, we got into that body language is very important, right? People don't seem to think about that when they communicate. And others are more emotionally based interpersonal skills, right? So once again, we're getting into that. You got to know when to have a soft answer. A soft answer brings people down as far as calming them, right? It's not going to be as angry and emotionally responding to you, right? All right. So here are a few skills that good communicators possess, right?
Can I say one thing though?
Go ahead.
Also having those soft, but it depends on the person. Got to have some effective communication skills too. The soft answers don't know. Like some people get enraged by too many soft answers.
Yeah. People do get enraged by too many soft. At that point, I'm like, you know what?
Follow.
The softest answer is silence.
Yeah, the softest answer is silence. But then you got to make sure that you communicate, because the silent treatment can also be bad communication.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But it's not, you don't want to give them the silent treatment. It's like, at least I tried to communicate with you.
That's communication enough. If the soft answers ain't working, they tweaking, you need to get up out of there.
But still, when you interact and see this person, you still be cordial.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's still love.
Right, so that's the thing as far as the soft answer. Like, we not talking about you ain't always got to be, baby, please, baby, please. You ain't got to sound like Keith Sweat.
Yeah, and that's what people be looking for, like, as far as an apology. They want you to kiss their butt, you know what I'm saying? Type stuff.
Listen to what they're saying. Are they genuinely apologize? Listen to what they're saying and look at the body language and everything. All
right, so some of these things, once again, are going to repeat, but then you're gonna look at it from a different angle. So there are gonna be some things that are in other places that are not in other places that you need, right? So we need this whole thing, right? So number one, go ahead with number one.
Number one, you want to read this?
I'll read it. Number one, listening skills.
Go ahead.
Clear communication starts with active listening.
Now, we said that in the beginning, right? Because so obviously this is very important, right? You gotta actively listen.
That's number one.
To respond correctly, right? Go ahead.
If you're just focused on how you are expressing yourself, chances are you are not listening or reacting to what others are bringing to the table.
Or you over there, man, I'm gonna cut them, man. When they done, I'm gonna cut them. like so maybe they not making sense. At the time they not making sense. They're emotionally responding, right? So now you just sitting there like, I got them. I'm gonna cut them. This, that.
But sometimes people already come into the conversation with that mindset,
right?
Well, they not even coming up listen to what person. They already know in their head, I got what I want to say and I want to say it,
right?
And that's it.
And go ahead. Listening for key words. You know what I mean? Listen, wait until you say one little thing. You know what I mean? Versus hearing it all, one little thing, or make a mistake, and maybe not letting you be able to come back from your mistakes. Maybe you say something on accident. Oh no, well you said this. Oh, I didn't mean to say. I meant to say that. Because not everybody can effectively communicate, especially when you're trying to. You gotta give people the chance to backtrack sometimes.
Yes.
If they honestly want to backtrack.
Yeah. Right. So sometimes sometimes it might not just be that one time. Sometimes like, man, let me come back.
Right.
And let's talk about it again. Right.
And if you do make an error in the conversation, it's okay to go back and correct yourself. There's no problem with that. Humility.
All right, go ahead. We're in the middle of the paragraph.
Okay. An effective communicator uses a variety of listening styles. They pay close attention to what's being said and make others feel heard and considered.
Now, that's a big thing, right? So now I want to make sure you're actually being heard and considered. I may not agree with you, but I'm not going to dismiss what you're feeling, right? Right now, you're just totally being unreasonable. Then that's a whole different thing. I still don't have to curse you out about it. But if you're being totally unreasonable, then we're not going to have effective communication, because effective communication still needs reason, stuff that makes sense, right? All right, so number two, this is a big thing, right? So we got to have reason, but we also have to have this, right? Anybody else?
I'll read this one.
Empathy, right? Go ahead.
I ain't gonna lie, confession, y'all. I lack empathy.
Right, so this is what we're here for. We're not here to say that we got it all together. It's good for you to say the stuff you need to improve on. So my brother said he needed work on empathy. I'm pretty sure a lot of people need work on empathy, right?
I'm quick to not care.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Right, come on. Being able to understand the feelings of those around you is an integral part of being an effective communicator.
Right. So being able to understand the feelings of those around you is an integral part of being an effective communicator, right? Go ahead.
Empathizing means both understanding and relating to someone else's feelings.
Say, cutting them while you read. Go ahead, bro.
Having high emotional intelligence and demonstrating an ability to empathize builds rapport between you and others and increase your ability to communicate.
All right, so emotional intelligence, right?
Exactly.
So I'm able to, once again, somebody's being hostile, I'm able to hold my tongue. I'm able to keep my pride in check, my anger in check. You know what I'm saying? Because if it doesn't call for it, why am I sitting here spazzing out, right? We ain't gonna get nowhere, right?
But how is someone able to do this if they don't know, if they don't have the knowledge of it,
Right.
or never sat down and observed these skills, or sat down with somebody to relay these skills? You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
So, well, it's like I said, it's the thing about you can get the skills and you can hear the knowledge, but skills come with practice.
Yeah, experience, like living and bumping your head and getting up, like, all right, that didn't work.
Right. So you may curse out a people or two, you know what I'm saying? I mean, a person or two, you know what I'm saying? I'm not promoting that. What I'm saying is that if you're already like that and you got to get better, you have to go through that to get better, right? So you gonna mess up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because we ain't over righteous. I'm sorry, we ain't over righteous nothing saying that we gonna read this right now and just be great.
Right. Oh, one thing, just because I'm here, I'm being real. Just because I'm here teaching this, that don't mean I ain't got nothing I ain't got to prove on y'all.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Right. So we just trying to get instruction. We got instructions. We're gonna sit down and read the instructions. We understand it, and we want to apply. That's the thing. We want to be able to apply it, right? We're not running away from it, right?
Yeah.
All right, number 3. Who got it?
I'll go again.
Go ahead.
Nonverbal communication skills.
Oh man. So like I said, body language, nonverbal, the things that are not coming out your mouth are also saying something. Right? Go ahead.
In addition to verbal messages, effective communication relies on nonverbal cues.
Go ahead.
Developing an awareness of your body language and tone of voice will improve your messaging and presentation skills.
Right. So there's a saying, it's not what you say, is how you say it, right? But it's actually both, though.
Yeah.
Because if I say something, okay, it's clear, it's reasonable, it's logical, but then I got an attitude with my tone, man, who is you talking to? That's all I'm thinking about. Now I'm just thinking about your tone. You could have said some profound stuff, but all I'm thinking about is your tone now. And now all I want, well, who is you talking to?
All it takes is a little leavening.
Yeah, man, that's crazy, yo. Right. So once again, body language is very important.
You missed the whole message.
It's the whole message.
All right, number 4, go ahead.
I got it. Number 4, teamwork.
All right, so teamwork. So once again, we have to be a team together. We have to be able to resolve something. There has to be a goal of resolution and reconciliation, right? So if somebody is enemies or they are not on the same team, it's not going to be effective, right? All right, go ahead. What that look like?
The ability to actively engage in team building and consistently collaborate with coworkers.
All right, so once again, this is going back and forth at the workplace or whether it's just personal relationships, right? Go ahead.
Is an important part of building your business communication skills.
All right, go ahead.
The more you build strong relationships and rapport with others in the workplace, the more effectively you'll be able to communicate with them.
And once again, this is not just for the workplace. You can apply this in personal relationships as well, right? All right, so we're moving on. So how to improve your communication skills? What y'all think?
Well, this is a start, you know what I'm saying, reading this back and going on. I'm
right
with that, you know.
Right. So this is definitely a start. Anybody else?
I would say having an open mind, not coming into the conversation with any ulterior motives, and just being able to elaborate and sit down and listen for real. That's my problem. I try to I'm one of them ones that just want to, get my point across. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm learning to dissect what you saying, so I could, go into the argument. You know what I'm saying? So have you and want to come out with a result. You know what I'm saying? A goal. And make sure it's purposeful. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to just have a conversation. You going back and forth and don't result in nothing and don't benefit for the future. You know
Absolutely. I think with me, I'm learning not to be so detailed with no reason. Like as far as putting too much into the conversation, right? So that is, and I'm getting better at that. But that is something that I've struggled with. Is saying too much sometimes, right?
Another way to improve it. And this is, I don't know, maybe it can go for anything, but like if you have a conversation where it gets heated, self-reflection afterwards.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, did I really come
I
correct when I
had a
did
lot.
this and that? You know what I mean? Like just thinking about how you did it, being honest with yourself.
Right,
Like because
definitely.
you know, like, yeah, I know I didn't have to say that. You know what I mean? And then keep that in your mind as you're moving forward, especially with that person.
Yep.
Mhm.
And you could self-reflect on the your body language, your tone, what you said, what they said might have triggered you. It's a lot of stuff you can reflect on.
Yeah, and then them triggers, them emotional triggers. And then like things like, you know, whatever happened in your household growing up, your upbringing is really big when it comes to knowing how to communicate, right?
Yeah.
Because if you had parents that spazzed at you and
That's all
you know, it wasn't for really a good reason, you gonna start doing that to other people, right?
That's how you supposed to communicate.
Right. So that's
learned
what I'm
behavior.
saying. It's learned behavior. So you gotta unlearn it to get the right behavior, right?
Yeah.
So what we looking at? How to improve your communication skills? Go ahead.
If you feel like you lack the basic skills required for good communication, there are a number of reliable ways to improve.
Go ahead.
Here are a few tips for developing your communication skills.
Once again, some of these things might repeat, but that's just how important it is, right?
Like in the Bible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Number one, so we've been talking about practice, active listening.
All right, so let's look at it from this angle. Go ahead.
Effective communicators are always good listeners.
So if you're not a good listener, that's all. You're not gonna be an effective communicator, right? Go ahead.
You got me already. Active listening means engaging with what people say by giving affirmative replies and asking follow-up questions to show that you are paying attention.
So paraphrasing, right? So it's good for me to be able to repeat what you said back to you.
Not selective hearing, my bad, because people hear what they want to hear.
Right.
Sometimes they miss the wait. What you say? Man, you just missed the whole. I was making an example.
Or they could have heard this part of the story, but they ain't heard the whole story. You feel me?
Right. So once again, you have to actively listen, which means engaging with what people say by giving affirmative replies and asking follow-up questions to show that you are paying attention, right? So once again, repeating things back to them, making sure, is this what you said before I respond, right? So that I can give you a concise response, right?
Another thing, like, and sometimes, like a lot of time in conversation, someone could say something to you and it probably was important or funny. You didn't really hear them, but you just laugh. You know what I mean? Like versus really, if you didn't hear them to say, wait, can you say it again?
Right.
Some people are too afraid to ask somebody to repeat what they just said.
Right.
You know, I've had experience where, I was sitting next to someone and I think I sat down, the seat was low. So I'm like, oh, this is low. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, we too close or something like that. And I'm like, no, I said the seat was low. And it's like after that, she was awkward with me because I gave clarity,
right?
Versus just letting it go, like letting it, oh well, yeah, the seat's low, just leaving it at that. Versus like, no, I actually said. Some people can't handle that sometimes, but that's a good thing to do. If you didn't really hear it, ask them to repeat it, or make sure you get clarity.
I'm gonna speak for myself personally. Like sometimes you just don't even care what the other person is talking about or what they got to say for real. You can care less. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you ain't even trying to get nothing from the kind. You ain't even trying to reflect on what they talking about. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Leave me alone. Leave me be. You feel me?
Yeah. Sometimes with the people, like when you see them and like as they always speaking foolishness, sometimes you can get to that point where they ain't never really saying. It's like you feel like you already know they ain't really saying nothing, or they just talking and it's just like.
Hey, can we do something different? Hey, they chiming in on the comments. Like you read something like what they think, like how like get people involved, man. Hey, if y'all like to send stars, help us create better content, man. Always send stars, support us, man. We are doing this for everybody too, man.
Once again, we want to actively engage with the audience as well. Hey, we're communicating with you, right? So we want to actively engage with the audience. If there are things that we're going through that you feel like you need to improve on, please share. If there's things you feel like you're great on, please share.
Absolutely.
All right, so what's next? Number two,
focus on nonverbal communication.
All right, so once again, we're hearing this again, but once again, we're going to look at it from a different angle, more information.
Yeah, the angle is how to improve your communication skills right now.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Focus on nonverbal.
All right. Mastering nonverbal cues and nonverbal signals can help prevent miscommunication and signal interest to those around you.
Go ahead.
Pay attention to your facial expressions.
Oh, man. So I'm sitting here, I love you, but I look like I want to kill you. You know what I'm saying? Well, you kind of contradicting yourself in your facial expressions. You know what I'm saying?
Why are you looking like that? I'm listening.
Right.
Well, why are you looking like that?
Right, because then they're gonna start focusing on why you looking like that. Right?
Or even personally, I could walk past my wife and just made a weird look at her. Like, but I love you. Well, why did you just make this weird?
Right,
Why you put your face up like that? You love her.
Right. Go ahead.
Pay attention. Miscommunication and signals interest to those around you. Pay attention to your facial expressions and body language when you are speaking with someone in a professional setting.
Right. So now, especially in a professional setting, that's your money. But then in a personal setting, that's your salvation, right? So we got to look at it, right?
Everything.
Go ahead.
Your nonverbal cues affect the first impression you make on someone.
Go ahead.
Maintaining eye contact.
All right, so now we're going to spell this as maintaining eye contact. That's something that we said earlier, right? Go ahead.
Maintaining eye contact, limiting hand gestures.
Right, so maybe you might be doing too much. You know what I'm saying?
Talking with your hands, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right, go ahead.
And having good posture to go a long way when meeting someone for the first time.
All right, so once again, I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you about who I am, but I'm sitting here doing this. It's like, you got to make sure, hey, let me be energetic and excited. That tells people something, right?
And pay attention to the other person's body language too, as you're expressing yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you may have to shift your conversation based on their posture. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. Go ahead.
It's number 3 now.
Go ahead.
Manage your own emotions.
All right, so that's big. So you got to be able to manage. This is going back to the being emotionally intelligent, right? You have to manage your own emotions, right? What does that look like? Go ahead.
For the sake of clear communication and your own personal well-being.
Go ahead.
It's important to manage your emotions and express them appropriately in context.
Right, so we want to get the true meaning of what something is,
So
right?
think before you speak. You ain't always got to be hasty. Just say something, you know what I'm saying? See if it makes sense to you first before you try to present it to somebody.
Right, absolutely. Go ahead.
Allowing strong emotions to unnecessarily creep into a professional setting can lead to poor communication and conflict.
Right, so now if you can't, once again, if you can't control your strong emotions, right, it'll unnecessarily creep into professional and personal setting can lead, and it also can lead to poor communication and conflict, right? So that is something that we do not want, right? So here, this next one, people be afraid of this, right? Because now I gotta come back and actually critique you on how you're saying and communicating. Don't nobody like critiquing, right? They don't like to be told that right. You don't like to be told you got to do better and this is how. Well, who you think you is? You know what I'm saying? But number 4, go ahead.
Anybody else?
Ask for feedback. There's no shame in asking for honest feedback on your communication skills from colleagues.
Right. So colleagues, once again, you can take this from colleagues to supervisors to friends to romantic relationships, things of that nature. Go ahead.
Asking your peers or subordinates for their advice on improving your communication skills can help you better understand how you are coming across in your work environment or any environment.
All right. So my thing is how you just go around thinking you got it all together. Now I don't want to hear nothing. Nobody got to say so I can improve in my craft. This is a craft, y'all. Right? The communication, this is a craft. So if you're not practicing and you're not getting wisdom from people that's better than you, you're not going to get any better, right?
Right. Or taking that self accountability for what you did in the matter. So you can, everybody, you can know, everybody can talk about it. Now everybody got this feeling towards the conversation instead of the person coming to the person they have the conflict with and reflecting that.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
And that's a part of the effective communication because now you're seeing how they're viewing you, like in what you're saying, how you're
and
coming
not
across
just
to
them, it didn't spread across to multiple people. Now multiple people got a feeling against you, you know what I'm saying, or an image against you, or just because of what somebody else said and didn't hear the whole matter.
Man, or a different narrative for that. Like
that's the word. I was absolutely.
Yeah, just sitting at a job interview. It's like the interview or the HR person is like critiquing your communication skills. to see if you valid for this job position.
Right.
Like saying the right stuff, how you dress,
Your
how
verbiage.
you look, your verbiage, your eye contact, like
Mhm.
not saying too much, but just, you know what I'm saying? They calculate all that into if you fit for this position.
Absolutely. All right, you can go ahead.
So did I finish?
Cultivate
A willingness to seek out others' points of view and forge better relationships with your coworkers.
Right. So actively want to actually accept somebody else's point of view and not, like I said, dismiss their point of view. You can disagree without being dismissive, right? I can at least show you that I'm trying to understand you, even if I don't necessarily agree with you, right?
Absolutely.
All right, number 5, go ahead.
Practice public speaking.
Oh, man. So once again, this is for the workplace, but think about using it for your personal relationships, right? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Public speaking may sound daunting, but there's no better way to develop good communication skills than by seeking out public speaking opportunities.
Right. So this is, I can say this for the teachers, right? So if you want to be effective in your flock, right, or whoever you're preaching to get the word, the actual word, you want to publicly speak as much as possible, right?
Right.
And so you're able to articulate anything that you want people to know as far as what God said, right?
That's not as easily said than done though, because a lot of I can speak publicly, but I'm not skilled at speaking publicly.
Right.
Like, standing up in front of a, like even just teaching, that's speaking publicly. Like this is like not so much speaking public because like we in the cut, you know, on the air, but like in front, dead center, like people, and you got all these eyes on you, and they watching every move, looking at your lips, seeing every word come out your mouth.
Yeah,
but
that's
why we getting these skills, because this setting right here, you know what I'm saying, is practice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. All right, go ahead.
Just knowing yourself. You know, you got to know yourself, and what was I gonna say? So when you're in front of the people, you got to know yourself and be authentic. Speak the truth.
Right, absolutely.
You know what I mean? That will help you. You're not trying to impress or just come there and do what you came to do and speak the truth. That's the easiest way to communicate. Well, that's one of the easy ways. Make sure you're speaking the truth.
So that means you can't be out there lying, as we read in the book.
Pump faking, man.
Right. All right, go ahead.
Great communicators are able to clearly articulate their feelings.
Go ahead.
Whether they are speaking to a large group or talking face to face to says the typo. Speaking
face to face to one other person.
And it said great communicators, not training communicators. This is for great. This is for great communicators. For everybody who think they got it together.
All right.
This is for great ones.
I mean, let me run that back. Like he said, great communicators are able to clearly articulate their feelings, whether they're speaking to a large group or talking face to face to one other person.
Right, go ahead.
Regularly, speaking in front of a group will magnify your strengths and weaknesses and force you to develop great communication habits.
Right, so I always felt like I was in that situation where I had to. You know, I remember when I was running away from being a teacher. It's almost like God said, go, be great. No, I don't want to be. But at this point, that was back then. But at this point, I've gotten to the point where, like, my communication has been so much better because I've been publicly speaking every day, even if it's in front of my students, whether it's on the pulpit, whether it's doing this, like I can feel myself getting better at communicating, right? And then the people that I'm talking to, they can sense it as well, right? All right, so this one is a big one. And this is a big one for Black people too, man. Crazy. Like if you can't get this together, you're not going to be effective, right? What is that verse? Number 6, right? Go ahead.
Develop a filter.
So you know, Black people love to say, I ain't got no filter. I ain't got no filter, right?
I want all the smoke.
I want all the smoke. But so now what is your purpose when you're communicating, right? With no filter, right? Are you trying to reconcile? Because that's not going to get it. Right? Are you trying to redirect? Because like if I come and correct you, I'm trying to redirect you back to the right path. If I check you and you go the opposite way, I failed you.
But wait, I want to tell it like it is though. That's why they mean they ain't got no filter, because I'm telling it like it is.
Yeah, you telling it like it is, but then you ain't getting nowhere. right?
Mhm.
You even lost the person that you dealing with,
Or
right?
are you even trying to reason with that person to get understanding of where they
You know
coming
what I'm
from?
Yeah, and it goes back to the fruits of the spirit. Tell it like it is with the fruits of the spirit.
Absolutely,
So
right?
that's bad communication,
Mm.
people.
And we're practicing effective communication.
Right. All right.
But this is for this package for the great ones.
All right. So developing a filter. What does that look like? Go ahead.
Effective communicators generally have highly developed social skills and can modulate how they express their thoughts and feelings to those around them.
Right. So the emotional challenges, right? So I can quickly, depending on the situation, change, that's what modulate, change my expression and my thoughts and my feelings, right? So that, I can kind of lead where it's going and direct where it's going, right? Go ahead.
And I'm just sorry, but this is stuff that you actually have to study about yourself.
Yeah.
You got to get this about you. You got to figure this out about yourself.
Go ahead.
Know what's appropriate to express in different interpersonal contexts.
So different meanings, so I gotta understand people with a different level, different points of view, so I can understand what they're talking about, what they mean, right? Go ahead.
Developing a filter will help supplement other communication techniques and ensure that you maintain a certain level of decorum and avoid conflict in the workplace.
So that the whole thing is about trying to avoid conflict and redirect back to the right path, right? If the conflict comes up, that's just like the word said, if you can be peaceful unto all men, if it was possible. But if you know it's possible to keep the peace and you didn't take it, you're in error. Right? So unless somebody trying to kill you or beat you upside the head with something, there's a peaceful route to go, right?
Absolutely.
There's always a peaceful route you can find to go, right? All right, so now
it may not be the peaceful route you wanted to take. You know what I'm saying? It might take you to humble yourself and suffer yourself to be defrauded.
Right.
That's it right there.
All right, so we talked a lot about how to improve in communication, what is effective communication, things of that nature. Let's look on the flip side, right? What does lack of communication mean? What does lack of communication mean?
Man, this is for people that think they mind readers, man. Like you just automatically just assuming like I just know how you feel or what you wanted me to do or express or like some intangible along those lines, like a lack of communication. Like, well, I thought you was finna, or I said you ain't hit. You like, you know what I'm saying? Like we all go through it every day. Like, you know what I'm saying? A lack of communication is basically you failing to express. You know what I'm saying? Your point.
So I got that bad because I put my expectations on people thinking that's just the way that's what you're supposed to be on. That's how you're supposed to move. But not knowing what background they came from, how they feeling, what they going through, how they react or how they move, you know what I'm
saying? Mean, right? Let's see what that looks like. Go ahead.
Who got it?
A lack of communication typically occurs when someone experiences challenges with A lack of communication typically occurs when someone experiences challenges with effectively communicating their needs and expectations.
All right, so now a lack of communication. So what am I communicating? Communicating my needs and my expectations. If I don't know what you need or expect, how can I do what you need me to do, right? That's simple enough, right? Go ahead.
If you have a difficult time communicating, you may find yourself not getting your needs met at work, with your family or friends, or in romantic relationships.
Right. So once again, you have to communicate what you expect and what you need. If you weren't direct about that, at least starting off with a soft answer, trying to have a soft answer for the rest of the time, right? But at least starting off, then you haven't effectively communicated, right? That's a lack of communication, right? All right, continue. Let's continue.
Is this with that?
Yep.
You may also feel anxious, insecure, and lonely.
All right, so I want people on the chat. When there's a time when you lacked communication because you felt anxious or either insecure or you felt lonely, right? So if you felt these things while trying to deliver a message to somebody, that's why it was a lack of communication, right? So you felt this way, right? So if you are listening and you tuning in, please share that. Whether you have been anxious, insecure, or feeling lonely, right? Because once again, we want to get real. We want to get down to what we need to improve on, our weaknesses, so we can give instructions, apply them, and then we can continue doing this every day that we live, right? All right, go ahead.
Challenges with communication can make it difficult to maintain relationships
Uh-huh.
or leave you feeling uncertain about where you stand in a relationship.
All right, so that's terrible, right? So when I go off and I feel like, man, they don't even want to deal with me no more. But I didn't ask them if they wanted to deal with me. You're just assuming it.
Right.
But that's because I'm reading it from your body language or your tone of voice, things of that nature, right? Continue.
Ineffective communication can lead to many misunderstandings or disagreements too.
And then it can get hostile, right? And then start turning into a fight, right? Go ahead.
This can include making mistakes or completing tasks incorrectly, having your feelings hurt, causing arguments, or distancing yourself from others.
All right,
So like miscommunication.
that is miscommunication, right? And once again, another thing that I'm seeing here, people got to learn how to disagree with each other, right? So when you reason, and then why are you disagreeing with each other? I'm not disagreeing because you hurt my feelings. I'm disagreeing because it's not making sense. I don't understand what you're saying. It should be like that. But a lot of people disagree because they're just in their feelings, right? So it's no longer making sense as far as what you expect and what you need, right?
Somebody chimed in the chat.
All right, what we got? What is it?
Okay, so we got Sister Bree Aldridge. Sister
Yo.
Peace, sis. It says she's felt anxious before because she knew how the person usually responds to communication that they don't like, no matter how calm it may be.
Right, yeah. Sometimes it's like that. But like I said, sometimes not saying something that when you try and you know you try, sometimes not saying something is the best way to communicate, right? But like I said, without giving them the silent treatment, right?
It's like sometimes you still got it. Like, well, if that's your boss who just always treats you that way, it makes you feel that way. And so now you always feel anxious when you got to bring something to them.
Right.
How do you get around that? What do you do?
Right. So you're asking. So you get around it. So I remember this, right? So I had a manager, man, she was just picking on me. Like every day I came into work saying stuff that wasn't true. All this, that, third.
It's because she likes you.
Man, I don't.
That's not good communication.
I'm glad you assumed it was a she I was talking about.
I thought you said she.
Oh, well, I probably did.
Communicate, sir.
Yes, I did communicate. I just didn't know what I said. All right, so, but what ended up happening is, like, I got to the point where I always came in with a good spirit, but I was doing it for petty reasons, right? Because I know that if you can't make me mad, or at least I show you can't make me mad, I'm going to infuriate the crap out of you, right? Because I knew that that's how her spirit was, right? But that's what I did. But eventually she stopped messing with me, right? But I knew it was going to work, but I wasn't doing it because this is just the right thing to do. I was doing it to be petty. Yeah. So I learned in my pettiness that you can learn something even in your folly sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
So let's see where we at.
In the last paragraph.
Go ahead, continue.
I was reading.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Challenges with communication can make it difficult. Okay, no,
if these or other communications.
If these or other communication issues occur frequently, it may have a negative impact on your relationship.
So, like when we talk about when we talk about relationships and things like that, right? People say, well, let's just say, why are you single? You know what I'm saying? Or like, what is the most important thing in a relationship? Communication. I hear that so much, right? Because bad communication ruins relationships, right? All right, go ahead.
Ineffective communication in the workplace can also cause your work to suffer. If your manager neglects to give you feedback, positive or negative, it can be difficult to improve your performance.
Right. So masters,
that's that.
You got to make sure you're communicating effectively, right? So if you neglect to give somebody feedback, right, positive or negative, it can be difficult to improve one's performance. So if I expect you to do this a certain way, and I'm not clear with what I expect or need from you, it's not going to go well. I can't improve.
Right. And it ain't going to be the result you're looking for.
Not at all, right?
I got a kind of example. I was once living with someone for a few months, and all of a sudden she just wanted to put us out because of this and this and that. Oh, I didn't want you doing this and doing that. And she never told us that she didn't want us doing this and this and that.
Right.
Like, you could have told me that and I would not have done it.
Right.
So,
So don't assume that some, like I said, some people assume, because some people want you to be a certain way so that they can justify not communicating, right? So don't assume that I'm going to react a certain way. At least come to me
You
and
need
see.
to say that again. That was deep. Say
Right?
that
Don't assume, right? Don't assume, because once again, people will want you to be a certain way.
People want you to be a certain way.
Right? They want you to be the person that's gonna cuss them out so they can cuss you out.
Because you look like that type.
Right. Or like I said, they might know you, right? So I'm just automatically going to assume, right? That just happens with people, right? Because people don't have their emotions in check sometimes, right? All right, so we're going to
somebody chimed in.
All right, go ahead. What's up? What's up?
We got Sister LaShonda Webb. What's up? What up, sis?
Yo.
What up, sis?
How you doing, sis?
Shalom. So she said, "Hell, I asked my husband to help me clean the kitchen, and while he was cleaning the kitchen, I saw that he wasn't cleaning to my expectations."
That sounds familiar right there.
So I was getting upset with him. I asked him to just stop. Later, I did some self-reflecting, and I realized that there was a lack of communication rather than getting upset. Perhaps I could have shown him how I felt. It would have been clean. She could have shown him how
she wanted to be.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about, right? Pointing out things that you need to improve on, right? Because like I said, we not walking around here like we got it all together, like we holier than thou and things of that nature, right?
And it be small things just like that. Like, man, Joe, like
that will kick a war off, right?
Like, I see you did the dishes and I still see a little bit of food in the pot. Boy, I'm a spaz.
You left the water in the sink.
I'm a bug up. Your eyes don't work.
But start acting different. Like, the other person don't know what happened.
Right.
Like, why are you all irritated? Why are you acting this way now? They don't even know.
Moving down. All right, so we got now examples of poor communication, right? So what does that look like to y'all? Examples of poor communication.
She gave one.
Definitely.
That was a real life one, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Man.
I got it. The communication patterns that your partner.
No.
Asking first.
So I'm asking first.
Okay.
He ready for the scholarship, right?
So examples of body language.
All right, body language. What else?
Like we was talking about, like talking with your hands, like, you know what I'm saying, like you can't articulate and hear, like, you know what I'm saying, you doing sign language. That's definitely poor communication.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or just, having expectations but not elaborating on your expectations. You know
right.
what I'm
Making it clear and understandable, right?
Not speaking loud enough.
Assuming.
Speak up.
Assuming, I can read your mind, and so I know what you're thinking before I say anything.
Choice of words.
All right, so let's see what that looks like. Go ahead.
The communication patterns that your partner's family may have taught them can influence your relationship with them too.
All right, so we were talking about upbringing, right? So whatever they learn from their family, their parents, they're going to bring that to you unless they unlearn things that was bad and learn things that was effective, right?
That's the tradition. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we not taught this every day.
Not all. Right, go ahead.
If they often fall back into those learned patterns of poor communication, it may cause rift in your relationship with them.
Right. So now that's where patience really comes in until they just giving up and then they don't want to do any better, right? But you got to have patience if you're seeing them practice it, they fail, long suffering. Like, how long are you willing to suffer? You know what I'm saying? That's something you got to think about, right? Keep going, my brother.
For example, maybe your partner grew up in a family that didn't communicate effectively.
Go ahead.
But instead regularly communicated through yelling and shouting at each other.
Right. So that's the thing you don't want to do, yelling and shouting. If you heard a bunch of that, then you're just not gonna learn effective communication. That's what you're gonna do. The littlest stuff. Now you just spazzing with the littlest stuff, right?
Yeah.
If you can think back on how that made you feel, maybe eventually you got used to it, but when it first was happening to you, like wow, instead of yelling at you, like it was hurtful, making you
I could feel this way.
whatever.
On the real,
straight up.
All right, go ahead.
This, in turn, may cause them to shut down when attempting to convey their needs because they were criticized or yelled at when they had previously tried.
All right, so then somebody tried to effectively communicate, and then you shut them down and completely dismiss them, right? So then when they try to come back, they're gonna feel anxious. They're gonna feel insecure. They're gonna feel like you don't have their back, right? Go ahead.
Poor communication can also affect you beyond just your relationships with friends or family.
Go ahead.
It can also present challenges at work. Ineffective communication among co-workers can also affect your job performance and your team's ability to reach goals.
Right. So now if you got somebody that you don't really work well with, maybe they don't have effective communication, right? But you got to be the example, right? You have to be the example. So if you don't have good communication and they don't have good communication, we ain't gonna understand each other, right? Not at all, right? Go ahead.
Imagine a different example.
Go ahead.
Perhaps your supervisor doesn't clearly communicate what is expected from you during the workday.
Right. So we just heard that, right? So once again, it's a reminder. What happens if your supervisor, those masters, don't clearly communicate what is expected from you during the workday? Go ahead.
Which could leave you wondering what they really want from you. This failure to communicate clear expectations.
Communicate, huh?
Failure to communicate clear expectations could, there's a lot of C's. The failure to communicate clear expectations could lower your morale or cause you to get in trouble for not meeting unclear expectations.
All right, so now he's sitting there mad at you,
That's
right?
What I just talked about.
He oppressed something like oppressing you because he didn't speak or she didn't speak what they expected from you, right? How you mad at me? I didn't know. Like you can't fault me for ignorance.
So far, you should have knew.
You should have knew because I assumed
you knew. You don't know how to work.
Yeah, but then you reply, "Who fault is that?"
Right. Oh, now it's really gonna go up. All right, go ahead.
But situations like this aren't strictly one-sided.
All right, so we get into maybe they didn't communicate, right? But then it's not one-sided. Go ahead.
And constructive communication will rely on your input as well.
So you gotta actually say something, right? So, like, let's just say you don't understand. Going back to what my sister said, you might not understand something, right? Man, I think don't assume you understand what they expect. Just go back and ask, right?
Yeah.
That's simple. It's simple, right? The stuff is really simple, but we just make stuff so hard because it's the flesh. It's flesh. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then again, we make it hard because 9 times out of 10, we don't even know this stuff.
Yeah, we don't know this stuff.
We haven't been calloused and built up a repetition or mindset of this type of scholarship.
Yeah, and I want to chime this in too. The book definitely, as you know, growing up in the word, or if you just reading the word and you learning it now, like the book expressively talk about controlling your tongue.
Right. Yeah.
Like this is what he means. Like when he say bridle that tongue, you can speak life, or you can speak death. You know what I'm saying? Your communication is powerful with how you know what I'm saying, you perceive people and how you deal with people. So this is definitely an edifying lesson for sure. You know what I'm saying? Just even if we ain't got precepts, you know what I'm saying? This alone is precepts because, you know, we working through the characteristics of the fruits of the spirit of what you're supposed to have.
Right. So this, once again, this is what it looks like, right?
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Breaking it down.
Go ahead.
From you, this failure to communicate, but situations like this aren't strictly one-sided, and constructive communication around your input as well. If you don't communicate to your supervisor that you're unclear about their expectations, they won't know that you're having trouble meeting your goals, or might even assume that your silence means that you understood the assignment.
Right. So once again, assuming is bad communication, y'all. Assuming is bad communication. I'm gonna say that again. Right. Go ahead.
In both of these examples, rifts in communication can cause negative outcomes between you and the other person, and thus impact your relationship.
All right. So now, once again, we are breaking this down. We want to see signs of poor communication, right? What does that look like? Signs of poor communication.
Go ahead, bro.
No, not reading, but
Oh, he's asking the question.
Yes, I'm asking the question to y'all. Signs of poor communication. What they look like?
I was a little confused, but we got the communication together.
Yes, sir.
All right, signs of poor communication is definitely, you know, what we was basically touching on, like the riffs, as brother was reading, you know what I'm saying? Like assuming that someone understands you understand their expectations.
Right.
Or, you know what I'm saying, your tone of voice, your body language, your eye contact, you know, referring to body language. Or, you know, just not, you know what I'm saying, not saying too much, not saying too less. I mean, like in a way, I believe less is more.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying, the less you say to someone, like I say, clarity. You know what I'm saying? If you're not being clear with what you're trying to present or convey to someone, because we all got different minds. So, I mean, we got different perspectives.
Right.
So you got to build with your community. If you fail to build what you're trying to get the point of view of what you're trying to get the person you communicate to with, you failed to sign.
Yes, sir.
Now that I'm dissecting the skill of effective communication, I'm picturing myself in my mind coming into a situation where if I'm not even comfortable in that situation with the person, if the atmosphere ain't right, if the person's facial expressions isn't right, and if my spirit isn't in a comfortable space, I gotta sit back and acknowledge that real quick and figure out how can I alter my spirit, you know what I'm saying, and get in a peaceful spirit, you know what I'm saying, and even move forward and start communicating with that person. So definitely, like I mentioned, setting the tone for the conversation, just first making sure I'm in the right mind. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
And lacking empathy.
Absolutely.
I add, lacking empathy is a sign of poor communication.
Yeah, I would say also a sign of poor communication, just noticing if a person is becoming more and more closed off or changing how they're changing as you're talking to them.
Right, yeah.
It's not always because of you. You know what I mean?
Right.
You just got to take that all into account. Like, okay, as I'm speaking, this person is starting to look more and more afraid, or they're starting to look more and more bored or bothered, or, you know, like just paying attention to the other person. That's a sign that the communication might be poor.
Right.
Lola Sade chimed in the chat. Lola, shout out sis. So Lola Sade, Bruce in the hood in the building. Yeah. She said signs of poor communication is not physically, spiritually, or emotionally improving on what was communicated.
Oh yeah, definitely. So you're not actually putting in what the person expects, right? So like another thing is, like, say for instance somebody got on you about something, right? And you may have needed that at that time. Sometimes getting checked, you need that. That's part of good communication.
Absolutely.
Correction.
But you sitting there can't implement it because you're too full of pride and you too egotistical. Like I said, you going back, who they think they was talking to.
Who you got that tone of voice with? I saw that wink in your eye. I saw that twitch in your lip.
I saw your face.
I saw you side-eyed me. You know what you talking about, right? So that's very good.
Another sign, this kind of relating to what she said. Like if you're expressing something to someone, and then they don't end up, like you explain something to someone, and they don't end up doing what you just explained.
Right.
Did you make sure that they really understood you before, you know, allowing them to move forward? You know what I mean? So that's something probably was poor communication. Somewhere happened, whether it was on your end or without you making sure the other person understood you.
Right, absolutely. So signs of poor communication. Go ahead. What that look like? Who got it?
Poor communication can leave you feeling frustrated, upset, distant, confused, and more.
We just basically said all of those things, right? So if there's some things in here that you may have known, right? Some things that may be common sense. I use quotations because common sense ain't always common, right? Everybody ain't got sense. That's what you gotta understand, right?
Yeah.
So poor communication can leave you feeling frustrated, upset, distant, confused, and more, right? Go ahead.
Even if you can't pinpoint exactly what a communication is breaking down,
go ahead.
You can feel the stress of those interactions.
Right. So because you can feel when the communication was not good, right? You don't feel good. You don't walk away feeling good, right? And you walk away feeling empty, like something is not resolved, hasn't been resolved.
Exactly.
All right, go ahead.
Defeat the purpose. This is why it's important to identify the signs of poor communication in your relationships
Go ahead.
so you can work to address them.
Go ahead.
Some general signs of poor communication include,
All
but
right,
not
so-
limited to,
All right, so now we're really gonna get into it, right? Go ahead.
passive listening instead of active listening.
So passive listening, I ain't really listening to you, right? I'm halfway listening to you, right? I'm not really caring about what you're saying, right? Or I'm ready to respond because I'm full of pride, right? So passive listening instead of acting listening, right? Go ahead.
Shutting down.
So shutting down. So now can't nothing happen now. You don't even want to talk. That's why I was talking about the silent treatment, right?
Mhm.
The shutting down is the silent treatment. That's what I mean. Not, oh, I've said it, all that I can say. I've communicated what I expect and what I need. You're not trying to hear me. You being unreasonable. So now I'm not going to say anything versus I'm just not going to say anything at all. That's the silent treatment because you didn't shut down,
And
right?
that's what leads to it next. Letting things bottle up inside until you explode in anger or sadness.
All right, so this is what where I grew up, we always had a saying, man, you gotta nip it in the bud, right? But however, I had to learn that I can go and nip it in the bud, but how am I coming to that person, right? So, but what my point was with this is you can't let this just sit inside you.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you ready to communicate about it. Something didn't set you off. You didn't even start the conversation.
Right.
Something set you off, and now you spazzed out, and now it's poor. The communication.
Where
is
is this
poor.
coming from?
Where is this coming from, right? Going to our next one. Go ahead.
Yelling or screaming.
Yelling and screaming is a definite sign of poor communication, right? Because it's like, if you got to get to the point where you're yelling,
Ain't nobody listening.
ain't nobody
Y'all
listening.
talking over each other.
Right. Ain't nobody listening, right? Go ahead.
Becoming physically or verbally abusive.
Oh, man. Right.
Ain't no fruits right there.
Ain't no fruits. So I get to the point where I'm beating you now, or I'm tearing you down emotionally, right?
And I just gotta take it, huh?
Yeah,
I gotta take it.
Yeah, take it.
Dang,
Right.
I just gotta take it, huh?
You got take it on the cheek.
Man.
Some people
Turn the
do.
cheek.
I pray y'all get free from
man.
that.
All right. Next. What's the next one?
Dismissing other people's point of view.
Right. Once again, just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I have to dismiss it altogether, right? If I at least show you that I'm trying to understand your point of view, then at least we can have a dialogue, right?
Mhm.
And then I can say I don't agree with you, and then you won't take it as hard because I'm actually trying to understand you, right? Go ahead.
Demonstrating passive aggressive behavior.
Oh, I can't stand that, right? Hey, man, just come be direct, man. Right.
Yeah, that-
Don't be coming around me. You got an issue with me, but then you sending sneak shots at me, and it's not direct. You ain't talking about what you expect. You ain't talking about what you need. You ain't talking about what I offended you about.
So
You just throw little stuff out there.
and
Right?
everybody around you probably hip to the sneak shot.
Yeah,
right.
You lost in the sauce.
So you lost. You
On
like,
the real.
huh?
All right. What else?
Not being clear about expectations, needs, or wants.
Right. So we've been seeing that all around the board. Right. Go ahead.
Giving the silent treatment.
So like I said, because you're shutting down, you're giving the silent treatment. I don't want to communicate at all. Right. Not like I said, once again, not that I've tried and you're not listening anymore. So I'm gonna just stop.
And now it's just bottling up inside you like a shaken up Coca-Cola.
Right. Because you just gave them the silent treatment altogether. Right. And last but not least, go ahead.
Interrupting.
All right. So interrupting. Right. So if somebody can't even get their point across because you cutting them off. Right. So that's another thing. That is poor communication. That is what that looks like. Right. So the source for this was psychcentral.com. Relationships, is lack of communication a red flag, and how to improve communication, right?
We'll drop them links in the comments, y'all. Hey, and if y'all like a copy of this, please tag one of the brothers and sisters y'all see here in the comments so we can get back to you, because we do have lives. Or, drop y'all email so when we come back, we could just hit your email and just send you a copy of this. You dig?
You see how smooth he was with his communication? All right, so now we're going to go into another angle of what it looks like to have good communication. So we just did the poor communication. We did effective communication. So we're going to reiterate as we're closing this out, right?
And we did signs of good communication, signs of bad communication.
Yep. So we're covering all. Hopefully, you are getting the edification that you need to improve your relationships, because we are not doing this just for whatever, right? We're actually doing this because we want to help people with their bonds, with their relationships with people, right? And so we want to live a more abundant life, right?
Y'all already showing good traits. Y'all sitting here listening, so all praise it, because listening is definitely
they
first.
definitely turned up. They definitely listening. All praise.
Yeah, man, for real.
All right, so let's reiterate. Let's close this out as far as good communication. Number one, what you want?
You guys, sis?
Be clear and concise.
All right, so be clear and concise. What does that look like? Go ahead.
Communication is primarily about word choice.
Also, you got to choose your words wisely, right? Once again, you got to have a filter.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Before you speak.
It's okay to go slow and think a bit at a moment to get the right words out. If you think you're going to just spew something out, take a moment and say, how can I best say this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Go ahead.
And when it comes to word choice, less is more.
All right, so what did he just say?
There you go.
Yeah, what did he just say? Less is more. So my thing is, congratulations, sir. So my thing is, if I could say less, that's better, and you still understand me, that is better, because if I'm overusing detail, that's what I said I had struggled with, right? So if I'm overusing detail and it's not necessarily necessary, why am I saying it in the first place, right? It's still poor communication, because the expectation is this. If I'm saying expectation, why I got to go into further detail if they understand what I'm saying, right?
Exactly.
All right, go ahead.
And that's irritating itself, my bad. So that's like, if I hear you like repeating yourself to me or keep like going on about it, I'm like, bro, you think I'm slow or something?
Right, yeah.
Like, let me communicate with you, let you know I'm smart like you.
Right.
I get you, bro. I got it. I get it.
Right, on the real.
And then once the person lets you know they get it, don't keep saying it again. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand.
Right.
Yeah, because you know you need to. I understand.
But now you understand.
Some people be like, did you hear me?
Right. All right. Go ahead. What's next?
The key to powerful and persuasive communication, whether written or spoken,
Go ahead.
is clarity.
And
when possible, brevity.
All right. Or in other words, being brief. Right. Brevity. Right. So I want to be clear, concise, and brief as best way I can. Right. Go ahead.
Let me say one more thing.
Go ahead.
Also with that, when you what did I just say? What was the point I just made about the communication?
We live, y'all.
We live.
Guess what? We're not perfect.
We're not perfect. All right. So what we were talking about, though, was the clarity, the being clear, being concise, choosing your words wisely, making sure you can be as brief as possible, because less is more, right? That just clicks up.
Yeah. So like, if somebody does say, yeah, I understand. Instead, like if you got that feel the urge that you don't think they really understand and you want to keep going, maybe ask them, okay, so what did you understand from? Like, okay, so what am I saying?
Right.
Ask them to reword it back to you a little bit versus continue trying to hammer it into them and they just said they got it.
But if you're an effective communicator, you'll be able to identify if they know what you're talking about, if they've taken the information and received
facial
it.
expressions.
Right.
Yeah. By the end of the conversation, you'll know if they engaged on what you're talking about, if they understand you.
Yeah, but it's at the point where they might, you trying to hammer something, and they say, oh, okay, yeah, I get it.
But
if you're unsure, you somebody don't know, you want to make sure we got this solution. We want to make sure we are really on one accord. If you're not sure, kind of like, well, can you because some people just want to blow you off. They'll be like, okay, yeah, I get it. And then they don't want to, that's it.
Right.
Really got it, man.
So
don't lie to me, Craig.
or they could know, just not an effective communicator.
Right. Yeah. That's just like, so you're not always talking to effective communicators. Even if you are one, you're not always talking to one, right?
Give them the space to get all their words out.
9 times out of 10, you ain't.
Right. All right, keep going, my brother.
Before engaging in any form of communication, define your goals and your audience.
All right, so one specifically, I got to define my audience. What if somebody reacts very quickly? So I gotta know what my audience is, right? I come to a person, I say any little thing, they ready to snap. However, if I know them, there is a way to communicate with that person that won't make them snap, right? So I gotta at least take that route. Once again, sometimes it takes for you to not care about people thinking you're afraid of somebody.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because I can talk however I want to talk. They ain't gonna do nothing to me.
Because you don't want to offend. You want to make sure the conversation is peaceful.
Right. Absolutely. Right.
So once again, think before you speak.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes,
You
sir.
don't gotta be some perfect. You think you be some perfect fluent speaker. You think you're the best speaker because you just talk, and you don't stop. Oh, I'm
When I started working at Comcast, some things just I could talk fast. Bam, I know what I'm talking about. I got all this verbiage, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about something instead of sitting back and examining what I'm saying and taking the time to deliver it so they could understand it.
Right, absolutely. What's next?
Outlining. You want to take it off? Want to take it home?
Yeah, I got you, bro.
Okay.
Outlining carefully and explicitly. Explicitly. What you want to convey and why will help ensure that you include all necessary information.
All right, so you got to make sure that they getting everything they need to understand, right? So outlining carefully and explicitly what you want to convey and why it will help ensure
Thank you, brother.
you include all necessary information.
I was gonna put that it out. I ain't gonna lie, it was a typo.
Yeah, it's all good.
I ain't gonna lie.
Lola Sade chimed in. She said we have to deal with people according to knowledge.
Yes, absolutely. So if I know you, once again, if I know
you know but
everybody ain't got now. So you gotta know. I gotta know this, and I gotta know you. Right. So if I don't know you, then I don't know how you react. I don't know how you communicate because there are communicating types.
That's a proverb.
That's why knowing the audience is so important.
Right. So knowing the audience, right?
Like, you're not wrong with, you know what I'm saying, having knowledge, because like that's just part of the fruits of the spirit. But everybody got the fruits of the spirit, you know what I'm saying?
Everybody ain't got it.
We got like, that's what I learned from this. Like, you gotta, you know what I'm saying, when you know your audience, you gotta really understand, like, sometimes soft words is like talking to a babe. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to feel them out first and see what a level of communication is. Do I like casting your pearls to the swine? You know the word, you know the knowledge, but what they gonna do is they gonna trample on it. They gonna blow you off. They gonna get an attitude. Like, are you just gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like Christ said, you're gonna be a testimony. You know what I'm saying? So dust off your feet. But that's what having knowledge and talking to a person that don't have knowledge. That's the proverb. You know, a wise man's considered wise. You know what I'm saying? But even a fool is considered wise. He keep his mouth closed.
Right.
You know
Absolutely.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Also, like if you know you about to have some type of conversation with a person and you know they quick to jump to conclusions or however they are, it might even be okay if prior to that you write some things down. You know what I mean? Like what you really want to portray to them. Not necessarily come to them and reading off the paper, because sometimes you get offended by that.
Right.
But just for yourself, you know what I'm saying? Writing down what it is and you looking over it yourself. If it's really that serious to make sure you want to have smooth and effective communication with a person, or even if yourself, you know, you're not really good at effectively communicating all the time, but you know, you got something important beforehand. If you can, write down. You know, that's okay.
Right, and say it back to yourself. Like maybe you might be angry while you writing it down. Man, I can't stand you, and walk the bed. Versus, I can't stand you, and this thing.
But not necessarily that type of, just the fact. What are you trying to get across? What's the problem?
Right. Yeah. I was just
what do you want? Yeah, I'm just trying to clear it for the people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What's the problem? What do you want to get across?
Yeah.
Even what do you hope happens at the end?
Yeah.
Maybe even if he's used to doing this, if they do talk over me, what can I do? You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of just prepare yourself, especially if you know how a person communicates, or if you're not the best at communicating yet.
Right, absolutely. All right, go ahead.
It will also help you eliminate irrelevant details.
Right, so I said that's what I struggle with, right? Like I said, I'm getting
being too detailed,
right, sometimes. Right, go ahead.
Avoid unnecessary words and overly flowery language.
All right, so
I got to
flattery.
get the gab.
Flattery. The most honorable big homie yerp. You know what I'm
Why you
saying?
gotta put me out there, man?
No, I'm just saying. So I feel like let's just say I start off with that, right? Hey man, nobody got
I said honorable.
What are you talking about, Chad? What are you talking
So that's what I'm
about?
saying. That's flowery language. I'm flattering you. I'm flattering you, but even though I'm coming to you, I'm beating around the bush. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm coming to you with these flattering words when I'm really like, man, I got a quarrel with you, but I'm finna start off with, man, the most honorable, beloved, benevolent.
Man, check it out, man.
I need a dictionary.
Yeah, on the real. Go ahead.
Which can distract from your message.
Right. So once again, I'm being over flattering and I have unnecessary words.
So
this
be
is distracting. So be direct, right? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And while repetition may be necessary in some cases,
Go ahead.
be sure to use it carefully and sparingly.
Go ahead.
Repeating your message can ensure that your audience receives it. But too much repetition can cause them to tune you out entirely.
Right. So now if I'm over repeating myself, first of all, people don't even like repeating themselves over and over again. The person you're asking to do that, they might get tired of talking to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so that's what active listening is. If I gotta over repeat myself, you wasn't listening properly, right? Go ahead.
Or even if as y'all are developing your active listening and effective communication, if you say to the person like, I'm trying to work on communicating better. I'm sorry if I'm keep asking you to repeat yourself.
Right.
Like be okay. Like I'm trying to get better at this. You know,
Absolutely.
let people know what you're doing if you can.
All right, number 2.
Number 2, prepare ahead of time.
All right, so once again, like when we saying this stuff, this is in here. So prepare ahead of time, right? What does that look like? Go ahead.
Chat, throw a 7 in the chat. Throw a 7 in the chat if you would, chat. Prepare ahead of time. What does that look like? Know what you are going to say and how you are going to say it before you begin any type of communication.
Right. So you got to know what you're going to say and how you're going to say it because both matter, right? Go ahead.
However, being prepared means more than just practicing a presentation.
Oh, man. Well, so what does that look like? Go ahead.
Preparation also involves thinking about the entirety of the communication.
Right.
From start to finish.
So you probably got to think about how it's going to go from the beginning to the end. Because especially if I'm the one that got the problem with you, now I got to come. I'm really directing the conversation because if I got a problem with you and I spaz, they gonna spaz. You know, most likely they gonna spaz, right? If they're not an effective communicator, right? Well, sometimes people get in their feelings, they get in their flesh, and then people get angry. Once again, grievous words stir up anger, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to add this in. It kind of is like, you know what I'm saying? Donald, this ain't maybe not really be the case, and I don't want to offend nobody, but I learned to communicate when I started expanding my education. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, like, it's not saying you dumb that you lack the community. Like I come from the streets, and my communication wasn't this good. Like it was very low. I had my vocabulary was very, you know what I'm saying, basic.
Right.
And when people communicated with me, like I really didn't know how to really articulate or express myself. I had to develop that skill set. So it's really an educating thing to know how to communicate. Like you could tell you speaking to an uneducated person by communicating with them because they don't know how to communicate.
Right.
And like mine came from, like I said, when I extended my education.
Right. Yeah.
Like I didn't just settle from like high school and just was that. I actually went further and I learned more and it grew with me. And that's what it really is growth. You know, they don't come overnight. It definitely takes time. You're not going to just spring up and just know how to communicate. It definitely takes experience.
Once again, we saying Walls of Jericho, we into scholarship, right? So we want to educate ourselves and be able to apply what we are learning, right?
Exactly.
All right, go ahead, my brother.
Well, research the information you may need to support your message.
Wow.
Consider how you'll respond to questions and criticism. Try to anticipate the unexpected.
Right. So sometimes you can do that, right? But once again, if I understand I'm coming here with a goal, I know my audience, know who I'm talking to, I'm trying to reconcile, right? I'm being brief as possible, right? And I'm being clear as possible, right? So I got to make sure I'm doing all these things. And once again, I got to add the fruits of the spirit. I got to be patient. I got to be long suffering. I got to be meek. All of these things in order to be an effective communicator, right?
You got to remember them too.
Yeah. While stuff is happening. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You can remember them when nothing is happening. Everything's all good. But as soon as somebody gives you the wrong tone, the wrong words, you can't be ready to snap at them for every given reason. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why I said what I said. So with those, like, you know what I'm saying, that's walking in the word, or not even serving the Lord like that in the word, but you know what I'm saying, you got somewhere the fruits of the spirit. You know, somebody come with you like a tone like that, or like they just not responding how you like they respond. Think of it, they just not educated enough to know how to respond to you like the way you want them to respond. So you gotta articulate yourself, you know what I'm saying, to like, or not even so much articulate. You gotta lower yourself, humble yourself, you know what I'm saying, to just receive what they saying, and then again, repeat or reconvey what you're trying to get them to see in the same soft, compassionate way. And then, you know what I'm saying, either they're gonna receive you or they not.
All right, absolutely. All right, continue.
Before a performance review, for instance, prepare a list of concrete examples of your employees' behavior to support your evaluation.
All right, so going back to the masters, right? So before a performance review, for instance, prepare a list of concrete examples of your employees' behavior to support your evaluation. So if I'm trying to convict you for something, right, I got to have facts to be able to come and be like, hey, I'm communicating to you this. This is what I expected. This is the facts of what you did that wasn't what I expected, right?
Right.
So that, and then now I'm judging you as being somebody that's not doing what I need them to do, right?
Yeah, not just saying, oh, you always got an attitude, or you all, say like the time when this happened, you did this,
right?
And also when this happened too.
Right.
Like, let them know.
I felt this way when it happened.
Not just, oh, you always got attitude, or why you always this, why you always that. Like, when, because be personal, just say, I'm not like that. When did I do that? If you don't have any examples, it's easy to just brush the whole thing off.
Right.
Not get any understanding.
Yeah, that'd be my wife. She be every time we every time we get into an argument, well, I got examples right here. Well, where your examples at?
Don't get them when they get home. Let them live.
I'm having to keep me a notepad, some examples or something.
No, but that's good. And even since listening in, I hope she understands. Like, we're just trying to give the reality of what's going on, right? Because people out there, they got things that's happening in their marriages, their friendships, whatever the case may be, right? But the more honest you are about it, the more you can work on fixing whatever needs to be fixed, right? Absolutely. All right, go ahead, my man.
Before engaging in a salary or promotion negotiation, know exactly what you want. Be ready to discuss ranges of potential compromises.
All right, so this is another thing when people, like, when it comes to job, you want to be blessed with another job, right? A new job, a new master, right? Well, you got to know how to negotiate. You want more money, you got to know how to communicate that, this, that, and the third, right? Once again, bring examples of your credibility, right? You have to have evidence of that, right? Go ahead.
Know what you are willing to accept and what you aren't.
Go ahead.
And have on-hand specific details to support your case.
Go ahead.
Such as relevant salaries for your position and your location. But be sure that your research is based on publicly available information, available information, not company gossip or anecdotal evidence.
Right, so just evidence sporadically that you don't even know where it came from and this, that, and the third, right? You want to have real evidence, right?
Hey, what that word mean?
I just
anecdotal,
like a story or something like that.
It's not real. You know, it's not real evidence. Pseudo science, pseudo evidence.
Like
yeah. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Before entering into any conversation, brainstorm potential questions. Request for additional information and clarification.
We just said that, right? Sometimes you gotta, hey, I don't really understand what you're saying, so I gotta ask for more information to get clarification, right? Go ahead.
Request for additional information or clarification and disagreements, so you are ready to address them calmly and clearly.
All right, so some of these are, once again, some of these are repeating. We can kind of skip for time as well. All right,
hey, I ain't gonna lie, y'all on the live, like y'all said, y'all, man, I'm so happy he just said that.
All right, so we're gonna do two more, and then we're gonna close it out, right? So let's go to number 4.
Oh, I like this.
Number 4, watch your tone. Watch your tone, right? What does that look like? Go ahead.
Read it or
Yeah, we can read it.
All right, let's get it. Watch your tone. Right. How you say something could be just as important as what you say.
Right. So we said that again, right? How you say something can be just as important as what you say, right? Go ahead.
As with other nonverbal cues,
go ahead.
Your tone can add power and emphasis to your message, or it can undermine it entirely.
Go ahead.
Tone can be especially important factor in the workplace, disagreements and conflicts.
Go ahead.
As well as a well-chosen word. A well-chosen word with a positive connotation creates goodwill and trust.
Right. So sometimes, this is not flattering, right? We're not talking about overly flattering the most honorable big homie Yerp. You know what I'm saying?
All crazy.
So it's like, man, Yerp, you my boy, this, that, and the third.
Right.
You a good brother.
Genuine.
You should be able. It's genuine, right? It's genuine.
So you got some evil intentions behind that flattery, huh?
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get something out the bro. Or I'm really scared, so I'm not finna be direct, so I'm finna be passive aggressive with my brothers. Like,
I'm about to finesse this chick.
Right, all that, right? Go ahead.
Okay. A poorly chosen word with unclear or negative connotations can quickly lead to misunderstanding.
Right. That ain't another fruits of the spirit.
Right. Go ahead.
When speaking, tone includes volume.
So like she said, loud, right? How loud are you speaking, right? Go ahead.
Projection.
So now I feel a certain way, you gotta feel that way, right? So I'm projecting what I'm going through or how I'm feeling onto you, right? That's not a good thing to do, right? Go ahead.
And annotation as well as word choice.
Go ahead.
In real time, it can be challenging to control tone and ensure that it matches your intent. But being mindful of your tone will enable you to alter it appropriately if a communication seems to be going in the wrong direction.
Right. So you gotta sometimes change your tone, volume. You're right. So you can't be projecting volume or just projecting your feelings onto somebody, right? You can't do that. Go ahead.
Tone can be easier to control when writing. Ooh, you just said it. But be sure to read your communication once, even twice.
Right, so she just knows what good communication is, right? Go ahead.
While thinking about tone as well. So while you write and think about that tone, as well as the message.
Go ahead.
You may even want to read it out loud or ask a trusted colleague to read it over. If doing so does not breach confidentiality.
Right. So once again, even though it says colleague, you can put that as personal, business or personal, doesn't matter, right? Go ahead.
And when engaging in a heated dialogue over email or other written mediums, don't be too hasty in your reply.
That's what my brother said, right? You can't be too hasty to just want to say something, right? Let me make sure I understand everything. Say it back to the person so they know that I understand them, and then we can have a dialogue, right? Go ahead.
And when engaging in a if at all possible, write out your response, but then wait for a day or two to send it.
Go ahead.
I kind of hit a nerve.
Right.
Wait a day or two to send my response.
Right, yeah, because sometimes
you need it. No, you need a whole day or two.
Well, that's just saying that maybe you need a day.
That's possible. The sun going down on your rap to me. That's that's all like, I feel like
sometimes situations calls for that though. Like if it ain't being reciprocated,
right. If it's not edifying, well, I'm gonna do it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I have to wait.
You did your part already.
Time to calm down,
right. Or give yourself time to calm down, right?
I'm thinking on a spiritual level, like, cause I'm automatically putting myself in the shoes of the fruits of the spirit of the Most High. So it's like,
what if you don't have the fruits of the spirit at that time?
That's what I'm saying.
At that time.
I'm saying at that time.
It ain't waiting on there, so I'm on your butt right then and there.
Right. If you don't have the fruits of the spirit, you're gonna go to them and you're gonna have poor communication. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're never gonna get that.
So even if not a day or two, maybe sometime give yourself an hour or two.
Right.
Some time,
just some
hours.
time, right.
You know.
Also, figure of speech.
Right. Go ahead.
In many cases, reading your message after your emotions have cooled allows you to moderate your tone in a way that is less likely to escalate the conflict.
All right. So what if you got anger issues? You might need it. You got anger issues. You might. You might be, while you're reading it, you might be cursing that person out, but then the next day you start calming down, and the next day, you know what, I'm ready to tell them this now, right? You might change what you say. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I'm so happy I ain't say that in my anger.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So we're gonna do this last one. Practicing active listening.
I got
right?
it, y'all.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Communication nearly always involves two or more individuals.
Go ahead.
Therefore, listening is just as important as speaking when it comes to communicating successfully.
Go ahead.
But listening can be more challenging than we realize.
All right, so this is also a skill, right? I always say listening is a skill because if you can't sit down, first of all, you got to be focused. People's attention span, especially
mine, is short.
Especially nowadays, it's getting worse. Their attention span is horrible, right? You can't keep focused for 1 or 2 minutes. Then now, next thing you know, you drifting off the la-la land. And I didn't been clear, I didn't been concise.
You don't think that got something to do with just off the interest of the conversation? Like it might just be somebody don't want to hear. Like listening do play a part, but then that too, like
why you don't want to hear it though?
If I have that person, like they just may not be interested. It's not that they don't want to hear it. It's just some that just don't got them interested. It's not pulling. It's not intriguing them. It's not exciting them. Right. It's probably something they don't want to hear at that time.
Right.
Well, like I said, you
might have to come back. But once I'm saying what I'm saying is, you are communicating with somebody. If we know we got a quarrel with each other, you ain't interested in reconciling. That's a problem.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. That's a problem. That's what you're saying. You're not interested. You're not interested in the fact that you've offended me and I'm coming to talk to you about it. I come the right way, but you're not interested.
So we speak on the essence of a quarrel.
Yeah.
Not just in general, just
we're not talking about being interested in something so you can sit there and listen to it and learn whatever they're talking about. We're talking about a quarrel. We're talking about we have a issue, we have a disagreement, right? So you're like, oh man, I ain't trying to hear that. That's poor communication. You're being dismissive.
That's terrible.
Right, go ahead.
But listening can be more challenging than we realize.
Go ahead.
In her blog post, who was her?
You'll see in a minute.
Mastering the Basics of Communication. Communicate expert Marjorie North notes that we only hear about half of what the other person says during any given conversation.
Selective hearing. So that's what I'm saying. You got to be actively listening because the average person is only hearing half of what is being said, right?
That'd be me.
Go ahead.
Not all the time.
Go ahead.
The goal of active listening is to ensure that you hear not just the words the person is saying, but the entire message.
Go ahead.
Some tips for active listening include, but not limited to, giving the speaker your full and undivided attention.
Right, so you got to be focused and interested. You know what I'm saying?
That word, interested.
Right, but you got to be focused if they come to you with a quarrel and something that you offended about.
And I only brought that up because I was relating to myself. Because like I don't be having quarrels. I just like if I'm making a beat or I'm playing my game or I'm watching anime or I'm in my word, and then you come talk. I'm dead serious. Like I really hate that. Like why would I got to stop what I'm doing to listen to what you're saying?
All right, so now here it goes. What if I don't know that? And you're sitting there and you're listening.
Did you tell me?
But you did tell me.
Messing with you when you watching your anime?
Nah, I ain't told you nothing.
I'm
busy, so leave me alone.
So you assuming.
Hey, but this is all about. Hey, this is what I'm saying, y'all. Hey, it's a place for everybody, man. I'm gonna definitely confess my fault. I ain't ashamed. You know, I know I'm jacked up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm getting better.
Go ahead.
Number 2.
Yes.
Clearing your mind of distractions, judgments, and counter arguments.
Right. So once again, you ready to respond? I'm gonna cut them. Right. So you gotta get rid of and clear your mind of distractions, judgments, and counter arguments. Right. And of course, if they're just not making sense, you can disagree, go back and forth. But that's if I've actually listened to you. Once again, I repeated it back to you. So, hey, is this what you said? Yeah. Okay. then you go into it, right? But if you just ready to have a counter argument without actively listening, then that's the problem, right?
That's a red flag.
Right. Go ahead.
Avoiding the temptation to interrupt with own thoughts.
Give it your own thoughts. So avoiding the temptation to interrupt with your own thoughts, right? So once again, you got to listen. You got to be focused. You can't be distracted, right?
And hold your thought. Like, don't let the person finish their statement before you intercede.
Right.
Because then you missed the message because you ain't let them finish.
Absolutely.
One thing that's crazy, some people like to talk. They don't give you no end.
Yeah.
You can't even say nothing. You forgot everything you was trying to explain because they said a whole book. And now you forgot. It's like
talk your ear off.
And you can tell that person too, because they quick to try to say something while you still in the midst of your conversation.
Right, on the real. All right, go ahead.
Showing open, positive body language to keep your mind focused and to show the speaker that you are really listening.
Yes.
So sitting up straight, smiling, locked in on the eyes.
but not fake though.
Right,
You know
don't be fake because they can see it.
Sometimes I gotta fake it. I ain't gonna cap. I gotta fake it sometimes.
Try to
I
look
gotta
be as
look
natural
clean,
as possible.
interested. So I
Be
just
as natural
expose
as possible.
myself that I don't be interested. So I gotta pretend like okay.
Which we even said, man, I don't be caring, right? That's
Yeah.
something you got to work on, right?
Like
That's what I'm saying.
empathy. Yeah.
Just like I had to work on, and I'm like I said, I'm getting better at not being too detailed. Like we're not here to say we got everything together, right?
Facts.
Let me say one more thing. And one thing about active communication, like kind of about what I was saying, you also have to give the person a chance to chime in.
Right.
Make sure you're not just talking for a whole long time. Assess yourself to have a pause moment to let the other person chime in at a moment. Don't
Absolutely.
talk
That's
for 5
real.
minutes straight. You know what I mean? Like
I got so many
Pay attention
gems
to
from
that.
listening, like just from listening. I ain't even have to speak. Like you just come say something to me, and I'm just listening. That's why like listening became real easy for me now, because like I love listening to what somebody got to say because I want to know what's on your mind too. You might know something I don't know that you just educated, put me on game. I love listening. Like I get gems from it. That listening is very powerful when you learn how to utilize it. It could be good, it could be detrimental, but that's off your characteristic. Me, it's more a benefit than detrimental because like I lack empathy, so a lot of stuff really go in my head because I'm careless. I'm like nonchalant, but in the educated kick in like
Right. Go ahead though.
last one. Rephrase or paraphrase what you've heard when making you reply. Well,
Right.
last one on that page. My bad. I lied to y'all. Ask open-ended. Well, did you want to?
Yeah, that's part of it. Go ahead.
Ask open-ended questions designed to elicit additional information.
So once again, do not assume, right? We're going to end on this note, right? Don't assume. Ask for all the information that you need in order to understand somebody so that you can convey your message back to them, right?
Right.
And so this is how you have effective communication. The signs of poor communication, right? So I hope that you guys were edified. Definitely edified. Take this wisdom with you because once again, all of us are not taught this when we're young, right? We don't have this in our upbringing. And once again, it is going to be difficult if you didn't have it in your upbringing. If you don't have the skills, you got to keep practicing. And once again, all praises to the Most High God.
All praises, y'all.
The Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who is Jesus. I am Cassius Israel, a.k.a. Kazak ben Yehuda.
I'm Jay Israel, YSO. And real quick, man, I hope I ain't cut you off.
You did kind of, man. You over-communicated.
Over-communicated.
So
He
once
was
again,
assuming you was done.
Back to
was
page
assuming.
one. Back to page
That's the
one.
pay. We got to do this whole thing over.
Back to the chalkboard.
But I want to give all honor and praise to Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Holy One of Israel, who is Jesus. I am Cassius Israel, a.k.a. Kazak ben Yehuda. I represent the Walls of Jericho Biblical and Historical Studies, Bruise in the Hood Entertainment. This is Iron Sharpen Iron. Thank you to my guests, my co-hosts that came over here. Y'all can introduce yourselves again. Now.
Yeah, man. I'm Jay Israel, aka So, and I just, before y'all cut out of here, I like to let y'all know we are offering people to come in and sit down with us. You don't just always have to be on the live or in the chats. We would actually prefer to have a live audience to engage with us too. So we just wanted to send that invite to anybody that's interested. You know what I'm saying? Inbox for the location. It is a private load. We're not going to say that online, but you know what I'm saying? We're not hard to find. Like I said, I'm Jay Israel. I saw praise to the Most High, Jesus Christ. And that's it.
Shalom, shalom. Y'all know Big Homie Yurt, Masab in your code. All praise to the Most High. Y'all tune in every Thursday, Iron Sharpen Iron, roughly around 8 or 9 o'clock. Y'all know we'll be on Hebrew time, so definitely just be aware. All praise.
Yes, sir.
And once again, my name is Mashavu. I'm a singer, songwriter, poet. I do hip hop too. Child of God, of course, he's moving me greatly. So just keep an eye out for me and what I'm getting ready to do, because God about to use me to bring love back to the music industry and everything. So stay tuned to what I have in store. I appreciate y'all. So happy y'all got to tune in and everything.
Let's get it.
Shalom, shalom. We out of here.
Hey man, I don't know, man. I think bro gonna throw a beat on, man.
Let's end it like that.
I ain't sharpen iron. I ain't sharpen iron.
Peace out. Peace out.
Peace.